everybody, I am so glad you're here because we are going to make Manhattans. And there's nothing better than sitting by a fire having a Manhattan. And I have to say, actually, you don't have to have a fire. You can enjoy them all year long. It's just, it seems like in the colder months, this is a wonderful, wonderful cocktail. And it's pretty strong. It's a bit boozy, but you know, one good cocktail and just sip it by the fire and enjoy the evening, and that's what we're going to do today. Now you're going to see a lot of cocktail mix back here, a lot of bottles, but that is because we are in the midst of planning a party in the next couple of days. So we are gathering ourselves and we are hiring a bartender because I don't want to be the bartender that night. I want to socialize. So I've hired a person to come in and give us some help. And we're putting out everything to see if they need anything else. And so we have cups, we have condiment containers, we have just about everything you can imagine that we know our guests are going to enjoy. And I know our guests enjoy a lot of the bourbons, and one of these bottles is my husband's favorite, and that is Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. Now, he's going through a phase where he's enjoying this, and he wants to introduce all of his friends to it, so we have a generous bottle of Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. But for Manhattan, we're going to use a rye whiskey. And that is a Jack Daniel's rye whiskey. It's straight rye whiskey, 90 proof. So buckle up. And then we're going to use aromatic bitters, and this is Angostura, and it is something you're not going to use a lot of, just a bit. And you'll want sweet vermouth. Now that's not to be confused with, we have dry vermouth. Don't use dry vermouth if you can help it. This is a light color, and you'll notice that the sweet vermouth is very dark. And that's what you want to use. And let's see, you'll need, if you want, an orange for garnish and a bit of flavor. You can use orange liqueur if you happen to have it on hand. I wouldn't go to the trouble to buy an entire bottle of orange liqueur, but if you love the flavor of orange, go for it. And oh yes, don't forget, you will need maraschino cherries. Now these aren't the best maraschino cherries, but if you want to make them perfect for Manhattan, take the cherries, marinate them in maraschino liqueur. Oh my, that's great. So we have that, and let's see, you'll need ice. You will need a coupe cup. Now that's only because you don't want your hands to be at the top of the cup or glass and warm the drink. But my coupes, and some pronounce it coupe, but I say coupe. And sometimes if I want to sound really fancy, I'll say coupe, but you have to have that accent mark over the word in order to say coupe. So I just go with coupe. And mine are silver, so you can't see the drink in it. So that's why I'm not using it. But your next best glass to use is a rocks glass. And we have been to several restaurants and ordered Manhattan that they serve it in a rocks glass, but traditionally it's in a coupe. So we are going to use the rocks simply because I want you to be able to see what the drink looks like after it's complete. So we have, again, our rye whiskey, we have our bitters, and we have our sweet vermouth. And of course, you're going to need ice. So let's get started. Let's move our rocks glasses up just a bit because I want to get the cherries ready for our cocktails. And I'm going to prepare the orange with just a few twists, so we'll have that for our cocktail. And there we go with the cherries. And you can use as many as you like. If you don't care for very sweet cocktails, just maybe use 1 for decoration, or if you really like them sweet, use 3 for the flavor. And I'm going to make a couple twists of orange for our cocktails. Now we'll get these out of our way and set these aside. Put that here, ready to go. Now we have our rocks glasses. I'm going to take the orange peel and I'm going to rim the glass so you get that flavor of the orange when you're first taking a sip. And now you can take skewers and I'm going to put 3 cherries on each one because I think that looks extra yummy. And have those ready for our cocktail. You can smell the sweetness. Love it. Now we have everything ready, and we want to use 2 ounces per cocktail. Now, we're not going to use a shaker, so I'm taking the shaker top off of this. We want to stir this cocktail. Many cocktails are shaken, some are stirred. This is one that's stirred, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. We're using 2 ounces of rye whiskey per cocktail, so that's going to be 4 ounces. Ooh, you can smell that rye whiskey. Wow. Then we're going to use 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. Now you may remember if you're a movie buff and you've ever seen Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. There's 2. Well, that's what they were making, was Manhattan, and they were looking for the vermouth. So if you have a chance to see that movie or you haven't seen it in a long time, pull it up and watch it. It's really cute. Then we're going to add 2 drops per cocktail of the aromatic bitters. Now these bitters, the Angostura, are very herbal. It's an herbal flavor and scent. I'm going to put 1 extra in there just for measure. But you can also cook with these bitters. It's very, I don't know how to explain it. It smells a bit like rosemary with allspice, if that makes sense. A mixture of those flavors or scents. And so give that a try. It doesn't hurt to have that on hand. Now we're going to add the ice. And the reason we're adding the ice last is because we don't want to dilute the drink too much. If you had the ice in earlier, it would have been warm and then the drink would be diluted. And who wants a diluted drink? But we are doing it now. Now, you know, I said that you can, very loud. You know, I mentioned you can use bourbon instead of rye whiskey. But you don't want to start using too many alternatives to your cocktail because then it turns into something else. For instance, you can use bourbon instead of rye whiskey, but if you use scotch, then you have a drink called Rob Roy, and that's a totally different drink. So what you want to do now is stick with this cocktail, and when you perfect it, then you can move on. But this is a cocktail that is a classic. And we're going to stir this for about 15 seconds or so and get it really cold. And the reason you want to do that is, have you ever had warm whiskey? I don't think you will like it as much as you like the cold whiskey. So this is why you don't want to use the top to your shaker. You want a strainer because you want to leave the ice behind. The last little drop. Do they look even? Hey, that's not bad. Very good. So you can either take your orange rind and you can spritz it over your drink, or you can drop it in, or you can not use it at all. Either way, I'm going to do both. I'm going to spritz it over and I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to drop in 1 cube of ice for each drink, just to make sure it stays cold. And then just sip it. It won't be super diluted, hopefully. And then you garnish with your cherries, or you can put the cherry in the drink and stir and have that lovely, lovely cherry flavor. So we have both cocktails, one for me and one for you, and I hope you enjoy yours and you perfect this cocktail. And if you find a way to make it any better than I've made it, I want to hear from you and I want to know what you've added. I've heard some slight variations on Manhattans, but there aren't many. You want to keep it simple and enjoy it, and there you go. This one's for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, I would absolutely love to have you as a subscriber. And don't forget, you can always follow me on Instagram. Bye.